What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing well. My name is Chris and Fanzon. You are listening to the Hidden Doors podcast, and today we have a conversation with Sarah Anderson, where she talks to me about her progress in life to becoming a small business owner and running a shop where she builds herself ceramics, very unique ceramics that she builds. And if you enjoy this conversation, don't forget to give me a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date on more videos and podcasts like this. I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Sarah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
It is awesome to have you come on here.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Seems like you're doing some really interesting things on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, the social media is so fun.
Yeah. I found you by doing hashtag small business,
Hey.
and then I found you.
Nice.
That's how I found you.
Awesome. Well, it works then.
Yeah.
Cool.
The hashtags do work, maybe every once in a while.
Right? I know. I always wondered that. I'm like, is that even a thing? Like, should I continue? Is it an awesome?
Yeah, I think the same thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool.
So on this podcast, I talk about things and I bring people on because the whole point is to produce content that will help people, either inspire people or just inform them how to live better lives.
Yeah.
And I talk on a plethora of things, but then when I see someone who's doing cool things like starting your own business,
Yeah.
that is it's not an easy thing to do, starting your own business.
No.
And it grounds you as a person. You got to learn how to sell yourself.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to, I don't even do this. We got to learn how to like run the business side of like accounting and taxes and bookkeeping.
Yep.
And then you got to bring customers in. You got to do everything.
Yeah, we're all
And
hats.
It's not easy.
No, it's not at all.
So when you see someone doing it like you, it seems like you're starting fresh from it, and it's so awesome to see that. I love it when people like either have a habit or have a passion, and they say, "Screw it, I'm going all in."
Yeah.
It's so awesome to see that, and you don't know who knows in 3 or 4 years whether it's going to be the most successful thing in the world or not.
Right.
But when you're more passionate about it, is a higher likelihood of it succeeding.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But either way, it's just nice to see people's passion into work and starting their own thing. I love to see that. So that's why I wanted to have you on.
Cool.
And I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Seems like you got a nice little studio back there.
Yeah, I've got.
Is that where you do all the work?
Part of it. I've got my dog is down here, so if you hear a bark, that's her. That's my wheel set up, and then some of my space back here. We've got a nice big window, so that's some.
It looks like a very nice. It's like the typical art studio.
Oh
looks
yeah,
like.
yeah, it's
Just
awesome. It's
driving your creative juices.
Yeah, it's so I never knew that I needed this space until I was actually in it. So that's kind of fun. I've never actually had a studio space. I've always worked at different places that just had studio access. And so I'm like, yeah, this is a cheap way to do it. But once I got in here, I was like, oh, breath of fresh air. Like, this is exactly what I needed. So
I'm reading a book right now. It's called Atomic Habits.
Okay.
And one of the things it talks about is your environment, changes. I don't know if it's your mentality or mood, but one of the things the author says is like every different environment, every mood or different type of environment should shape what you're doing. So if you're working, you should have a work environment.
Yeah.
If you're reading, you should have a reading environment and everything in between.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's one thing, it's everything in one environment, it gets too messy.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, maybe your brain like catches cues like, are you working or are you home? And that's why it's good to like sometimes get out of the house. So it must be nice to be in like an environment that's fully built for creativity and working. Like it probably increases the creative juices, probably get you inspired yourself.
100%. Yeah. I had been working out of my house like for the past, I was working out of a studio and my house and another studio. So it was like 3 different places where I was like, oh, I've got this here and this here and this here. So yeah, especially working at home. I quit my full-time job in July and started working from home for like a couple of months. And it took me about a month to be like, nope, I have to separate that work home life. There's no way that I can continue to do this. So this is,
So is there a name like you started your own company and you make
yeah.
ceramics?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess tell us what you do because I don't want to
Yeah.
misspeak here.
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, ceramic artists. That's kind of my title. So, I think it was I maybe 2 years ago I started doing functional pottery, so like bowls, cups, mugs, vases, all that good stuff. But I went to school for sculptural art, so that's kind of what I did for about 4 years in school, and then I realized, well, that doesn't make as much money as I would hope. Like I still love it, but yeah, it's definitely not as lucrative. So I just started jumping into the functional stuff, and I do what's called sgraffito. It's the Italian word for scratching. So it's just like kind of like wood prints or wood cuts, that kind of printmaking style. It's kind of what it looks like. Um,
That's what you're doing right now.
yeah.
This sgraffato. What is it?
Sgraffito. Yeah.
Sgraffito.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it.
So that's the technique that I use on most of my stuff. But so I've been doing that. Like I said, I quit my full time job in Indianapolis, Indiana. In when was that? At the end of July of this year. And so, like right smack dab in the middle of COVID, I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. I mean, it was the best like thing I've ever done so far, but it was
It's scary leap, right? That
yeah,
one big leap.
I know. I was like,
What made you overcome that fear of just breaking it off and saying I'm going 100% with this?
yeah, I think it had a lot to do with I just genuinely hate being on other people's time schedules. I do not like doing that. I love being able to, set up my own schedule, do my own thing. And growing up, my mom did that. She's a graphic designer and got to like plan her own schedule and do her own thing. And I was like, that no matter what I do, like that's what I want to do. So found a spot with this that I enjoyed and people enjoyed. And the job that I was in, I was a ceramic studio manager at a art center, and so I still had like that community and that growth there. And so once I started, like I wanted to probably quit the moment I started. I mean, I loved it there and people there, but again, I just wanted to do my own thing. And so I was like slowly building up to the point where I could do that. And so I think it was just watching, like my hours, what I would do. Like I straight up worked probably 12 hours a day every day for about 2 years because, you go work from 9 to 5 and then you go back home and do your work that you want to do so you can like promote yourself. So I did, yeah, I had no social life for about 2 years and I just worked like hell. And I think once the money started to equal out, so at the beginning of last summer, I think in May or June, I was really starting to hit that mark of like what I made per month at the art center. I made the same in my sales. And so at the end of July, I was like, I think we can do it. Let's just do it. So that's kind of
Did you learn a lot from the 2 years of actually working at the ceramic studio?
yeah,
Did that help you to
yes.
where you are now?
Absolutely. I am very grateful for that. It taught me a lot. Like I taught a lot of classes. I taught a class a day or maybe two classes a day for those 2 years. And so that showed me how to like, set up, how to price things, how to schedule things. And then it also showed me how to like run a studio efficiently. So and it was a decent sized art center. So I think maybe 200 people every week would come through and make stuff. And I would have to put stuff in the kilns, fire their work, get it back to them, teach, schedule stuff. So it was really cool to see how that functioned and have the place where like they just threw me in and totally trusted me and they were like, yeah, just have at it. So I learned a lot in those 2 years. So yeah, definitely I would not be where I'm at if I didn't have that experience for sure. So it was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. What inspired you like to even get into this whole ceramic thing? Was that your mom?
I'm, you know,
Your mom seems to be very artistic.
yeah,
She
she
seems to be
is.
artistic is in the blood.
It is. My dad is also a graphic designer. My boyfriend is also a graphic designer. And then my brother, he started his own business in videography and animation and all that kind of stuff. So very much a entrepreneurial family. And so like my mom has her own business, so does my brother. And so I was like, might as well try it. Everybody else is doing it, so I might as well. But yeah, so I don't even know how whenever I started school, I didn't have any art experience at all, but I decided to go into the art program and like try that out.
You just knew it. Your intuition said, "I need to be doing something with art."
Yes, I don't, yeah, I had a lot of people ask me that and they're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And I think my mom definitely pushed me to, just try it, just do it. Cause she knew that I loved working with my hands. And like, I always worked with my dad in the wood shop growing up and that kind of stuff. So that was very intuitive to me. But I think at the same time, yeah, I just wanted to figure out what inspired me the most. And so I tried a lot of different things. I did glass blowing for about 2 years and I did metalworking and casting and forging and welding. And that was really fun. It was very practical, which is something I appreciate a lot. But I, if I couldn't like hold what I was making in my hands, like metal, I just couldn't do a lot with my hands. I had to use tools to use it. That irritated me a lot. So
You don't like using tools?
I don't. I really don't.
Don't you have tools in the
Oh yeah.
shop? Like,
Yeah, I have a lot of tools here, but I
but
guess
it's more handwork. You're
yeah,
saying.
yeah. If I can't like move it with my hand, like I can't bend metal, So that always would like irritate me. If I had this one little thing that I couldn't just like move, it would always make me
Yeah.
mad. So I liked malleable things and like with the glass blowing, that was very malleable. It would move really fluidly, and I really liked that. So I think that's kind of how I switched to that side of things. I was like, okay, I like sculpture, I like clay, I like things that I can move with my hands. And then it started to go into the money side of things where it's like, okay, people aren't going to buy a figure sculpture as much as they're going to buy a mug, like on the daily basis. So then I started doing different, I had a residency opportunity in Ohio once I graduated, and I had some figure work.
A residency for what? I like in my head when I hear residency, I think like the medical
Yeah,
field. But there's a residency for
yeah.
the art studio,
Oh
I would
yeah.
assume.
That's like so I think there's like different tiers to fine art. So you either want to go back to school to get your MFA to be, teach your graduate program or whatever. Um,
Is that risky? Going back to school for a graduate program and
honestly,
then like
yeah,
that seems like a lot of money for something that may not pay
yeah,
off in the
it's
end.
terrifying. That's why I haven't done it yet. I've had a lot of people try and talk me into it, and I'm like, I think I'm okay for now. Like maybe in like 10 years, but not now. But yeah, I'm like, if somebody pays me to do it, okay, we can try that. But no, yeah. But yeah, residencies are another avenue to go down. So there's craft schools like Aramont in Tennessee, or the Red Lodge Clay Center, Anderson Ranch. There's a few different ones just spread out all over the United States. And it's just like a craft school where you go and you learn different fine art techniques by different artists that are amazing. So that's kind of like the next goal or step outside of, your actual, I mean, both of your undergrad and graduate programs. That's what people are kind of striving for after you graduate. So that's always
But
been,
if you run your own business and you run it very successfully
that's
and you
true.
gain a lot of traction, is there a need for that even?
I think
Like,
it's
is
just,
that your like, long term? Let's say your business is booming. You're like, I'm sitting pretty right now.
yeah.
Do you go? Like, is that a longer term thing to want to teach as well,
Yeah,
or just to run the business, or both? Who
that's
knows?
a good,
What's your goal?
yeah, I think that's a great question. Either one, like if either of those happen, yes, that
Yeah.
would be great. But if it was a perfect world, I think I just really like. I still teach classes here and there, and I teach. It's called the Fountain Square Clay Center in Fountain Square, Indiana. But so yeah, I still teach classes, and I really love that interaction between student and teacher. And like they teach me as much as I teach them. Like I had my class last night and they were asking me questions and like doing all these things for me, just like pushing me in my own work. I think that's really cool. Like just that interaction and community building. And speaking of which, I'm going to go on a tangent for a second.
Go ahead.
I've got my friend that I work with in here, her name's Merritt Metzger. She's also a ceramic artist, and there's a giant convention for ceramics. It's called NCECA, and so that's going to be. It's held in different parts of the United States every year, but we missed last year because of COVID. And so this year it's going to be in Sacramento, California. And we're big travel buffs too. And so I've got my dog and my friend Merritt and we've got a trailer. We're just going to hook up and travel for like a month and a half at the beginning of this year coming up. So that's going to be terrifying. But we just love community building and meeting people and doing, it's like a mini residency that we're just making ourselves, and we're just going to go see people and network. So I think that is a big reason why I do what I do, and why I would want to do residencies and like go to different places just to network and connect with people. So that's kind of my big
You're,
goal.
you're like Matthew McConaughey. I just read his book Green Lights,
Yes, it
and
was.
did you read it yet?
Not yet, but I'm about to
Oh,
get it on Audible. I really want.
he traveled for like 5 to 10 years in a trailer with his dog, and like that's how he took meetings from his trailer. He like traveled all over the country.
That's
So
so
you
cool.
you and the dog are
Yes.
you're Matthew McConaughey
Yeah.
in the making.
That's so cool. That's the biggest compliment I think I've gotten before. That's
This class that you teach,
mm-hmm.
like in my head, if someone were to go to your class, they're like newbies, meaning
Mm-hmm.
like I just want to do it for a fun weekend project. But are these people like pros too? Like they do this for like a really like is that their hobby? Or are you teaching a mix of people like, yeah, I do this for the weekend,
Yeah.
and some person does this like every
Yeah.
weekend, and it's a mix of everyone?
Yeah. So I think it ranges from classes. So the one that I taught last night was the finish to just an intro class where people just, it's just their hobby. Maybe it's their first time ever doing it. But I'm about to do a couple Zoom workshops where I just kind of talk about my technique and how I do it. People can follow along if they want to, whatever. But they're more of the ones that are more experienced and like already know different, like how to throw, and then what else do you do, like how can you alter it, how can you add color, surface design, that kind of stuff. So I think it's a broad range of people that you can get. But
Do you know like paint and sips where you paint and
mhm.
then you have a little sip of wine? Do you have any of that?
I want to. I think that'd be super cool. I have not tried that before, but I think that it would be fun if you could like.
That's a good way to get like newbies in there,
Yeah.
like who like just want to do this for. I maybe would do that.
Yeah, I think
I just don't live in Indianapolis.
well, it's everywhere. You can find it. That's cool.
So how does your business work? Like my understand when I saw your Instagram account, my understanding was you're selling ceramics
Mhm.
mainly.
Yeah.
But it seems like you have more ways to drive revenue and build your community, which
Mhm.
is selling ceramics, uh, doing like conventions, and then you're also doing classes
Yeah.
and teaching people.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Is that like the scope of what you're doing?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm trying to, yeah, just stick a little bit of everything in every little pot. I think that I tried at the beginning to rely heavily on just selling stuff, and that put a lot of pressure on like the art side of things. Like I'm definitely money motivated, but I'm also equal parts like I love what I do. It takes a lot of time, so I don't want to burn myself out on it. So I think that I spend a lot of time trying to find other ways to not put so much pressure on selling. So that's why I teach at a couple different places that I go to physically, and then I also do stuff online that I teach. And then yeah, selling stuff. I try and do. I've recently started doing some shops around Indianapolis, so I've got I think about 10 places that are carrying my stuff now, so I can give it to them, and then I can also sell stuff on my own too. So that takes a little pressure off me, and I can just have other people do that too. But that's more on like the selling side of things. I think that I also like with residencies and that type of stuff. I've been doing a lot of gallery work, I guess is what you would call it. So I just had my first show in a gallery, and
How does that work?
it takes
You're
a
like,
lot of work.
is it a lot of, is it let me see if I'm picturing this right.
Mhm.
A gallery with many different artists, and
Mhm.
you're like, you have your own station or
Yeah,
section.
yeah. So
How did that go?
there's a few like different types of galleries. The one that I'm referring to, it's like a really cool place. It's here in Indianapolis on Mass Ave. It's a commission-free, rent-free space for artists. These people just love art, and they're amazing, and just let artists come in and sell stuff. So I'm one of their permanent artists, and I just asked them if I could do a solo show there before Christmas, just to like get some publicity. And they're like, "Yeah, come on in." And so I had about 40.
Solo
Yeah,
shows. How many people did you get to come?
it was quite a bit. But I say solo show just for like, so my friend Merritt also sold her stuff with me. So it was both of ours, and we have very similar styles, but it was just us. And so the rest like usually there's a lot of other artists in there too displaying, but that one was like just us in there, so that was really cool. But
Do people like it? Because like if I'm looking at your stuff, it's like, okay, awesome. You know, someone's authentically making something as a person and
mm-hmm,
I can buy it. And I don't know exactly what you do with old ceramics, but
mm-hmm,
this useful thing for the house. And
yeah,
some might just be a nice look in the house.
mm-hmm,
But it's like everything has gone so corporate that
yeah,
it's meaningful to get something from a local person
mm-hmm.
who is like doing unique like do you make the same thing over and over again, or can everything be unique because you're doing it yourself?
Yeah, I think that, and that's just it. I'm on a weird line because it's like I am a small production pottery business, but I'm also on the side of like, this is, I love the craft and I love to do it. And so I'd do this even if I didn't make money from it. So each one
That's
is
how you make money,
right.
folks.
Yeah, exactly. People love what you do if you love it.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, each one is definitely individual and nothing's the same. If I even tried to do it the same, it wouldn't come out the same. But yeah, it's definitely I have like the same like styles of things. So maybe one I would do, recently I started doing these weird little characters, and I made this little frog fishing for pumpkins and for Halloween, and I did some rats hanging from sewer gutters and kind of gross stuff like that. And so I did used to do, and I still kind of do like flowers and pretty things too. So now I'm starting to switch to like different things that I think are more interesting and kind of grungy, and some people are like, "Oh, what's happening?" So I think it's an interesting dynamic where it's like I'm at the point now where I can like choose what I want to do and it still sells because people just enjoy the process of what I'm making and just want to be involved in that. But that's why it was really hard to get started because I kind of had to do the stuff that I didn't really want to do at the beginning to make the money to try and build up my self image. So that was very difficult to do. So now I'm really enjoying the side where it's like I can kind of have unique things and people still enjoy that. So.
What are you working on right now? Like, is there anything you have that you can show us?
Yeah, let's see. Let me go grab something. I actually just had a sale, so I've got some things left over from that. What? Got a couple things. And my dog's just right in the way.
Do you have people help? Are people helping you make this? Is this all yourself?
No, this is all me. Yeah, it's. I mean, my studio mates are awesome. My other friend, her name is Becca. She's Five Lines Pottery on Instagram, but she is the one that invited us to this space, and she's got a kiln that we use in the back. So I wouldn't have access to a kiln without her, or have a space. So that has been really helpful. But as far as like production, it's all me. So that's fun. but but I've got this little jar here and I've got a little lid, so it has.
I saw you post this on Instagram, I think.
Yeah. So this one,
So what would someone use this for? Like a penny jar?
I have
Can
no
you use it as a
idea.
penny jar?
A single cookie, whatever you want to use it.
Oh, cookie jar.
Yeah, there you go. No, I had actually I sold another jar to one of my other friends, and they're like, "Yeah, we keep our drugs in it." And I was like, "I did not need to know that."
Oh my
But it seals
god.
pretty well, so you could use it for tea. You could use it for other things, coffee, drugs. But no, she really liked it. So, but yeah, it's
What's the design? Like what is that?
so these are just so actually I have some fun stories behind these.
Looks like a pepper.
Yeah,
Is that a pepper?
yeah. So it's
Okay.
just it's a regular old chili pepper, but my family is a family of gardeners, and so we have all kinds of peppers and like loofah gourds and all kinds of crazy stuff that we grow every year. And so my grandpa recently passed, and he gave my brother some chili pepper seeds, and so those were kind of a thing, a shout out to them. like, so a
Oh, that's
few, yeah, a
nice.
few of them are like a little hidden meanings to them that not everybody knows. But, and then I've got a little teapot with mushrooms on it. So I have a lot of very specific customers.
That's an intricate mushroom.
Yeah, they're intense. So I drink a lot of tea, so it comes apart, and I have a heat diffuser on the inside. Woo. So you can just put your loose leaf tea in there and then steep it inside here.
Oh. So, you'd put tea in that, and then it would soak in,
Mm-hmm.
steep into the
Yeah.
water.
Mm-hmm. It's a little intense, but I think it's really cool. There's a lot of things about tea ceremonies that you learn about in ceramics, and there's just a lot of history in the process of this. So I think that's kind of fun to be a part of that and just enjoy
Can
that.
can someone come up to you and say, "Hey, I would like that, but I'm really into trees or blueberries," and then you would make a custom one?
Yeah,
Can you do custom one?
yeah,
Or I mean,
hmm
obviously you
yeah,
can, but
yeah. But
do you?
yeah, like I think I started doing a lot of the custom stuff mainly to again do the things that I needed to do to promote myself and get a more self image, more publicity. But if it's so now whenever people come to me for commissions or things like that, usually they'll pick it from a design that I already have. They're like, "Oh, this is out of stock. Do you think you could make this for me?" And so I'm like, "Yeah." Sometimes I have time, sometimes I don't. So I'm still in that. I'm not quite to the point where I can turn people away yet. Where I'm like, "No, I'm too good for this." I don't think I'll ever want to be to that point where I will. I love making stuff for people, but I'm not that busy yet. So, but I think that I'm getting to the point where, um,
You have a lot of, like, when you post something on Instagram, you have a lot of people who are interacting with that post.
yeah,
Like, you get at least, I was looking, you get 500 people who are liking that button.
yeah, it's great. It's new. This
That's
is new.
pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's like I'm really just that's gonna be a huge like marketing thing for me in the future. So that recently just happened when I made the leap to do the full-time ceramic art stuff. And so like in August and September, that's when I started to actually, get traction and kept going with stuff. And the reels, like those help so much. I hate them, but they help so much. So it's like, well,
It's so easy for you to do reels, though. Like, for me, I started doing I'm going to start doing a word of the day reel. I found that could be easy, but for you, it's like every day you're making something, so all you have to do is throw a nice song on and like do something interesting.
yeah,
Like, you're always doing something
yeah,
that is reel worthy.
yeah.
Me, not really, but you, yes.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel that way, and then if you like I don't know, there's like if you just had a video playing of what I do each day, it looks so boring. Like I'm literally just playing with dirt every day, but that's like probably really interesting to somebody else, but to me I'm literally just playing with dirt. So but
Yeah,
it's
that's what's funny, right? If you looked at you from the outside
yeah. Yeah.
and you weren't interested in this stuff,
Yeah.
it'd be boring as hell.
Right?
But inside your head, you're probably like, the juice is flowing. You're probably like, oh, baby, let's go.
Yeah.
It's like when you have that passion for something, it's
Yeah.
inside your head. Just like people look outside, like, what are you doing? Like,
Did she think
spending hours on this, but you probably enjoy it so
it's
much.
true? Yeah, it's true. I'm working
How long did it take you to put that thing together?
this
The one that you
teapot.
just showed me, the teapot.
Oh god. Well, that was my first attempt at doing a handle like this. So that handle was really frustrating because it was in three parts. So I had to make these two sides and then make this and then attach those. And clay is I describe it, it's like a cat. Like if you touch it too much, it just freaks out. So I had to let those handles dry a very specific way, and they warp in the kiln. Like if you had something like this and you accidentally bent something, and then you straighten it back up when you fire it, it's going to remember that. So that was something I had to really play around with. So it took me probably twice as long as it would now, but probably I don't know,
Like
probably
over 12 hours.
no, probably not. I think it took about maybe 20 minutes to throw all of the components and then to assemble.
Wait. What is 20 minutes to what? Like, how did you? The mushrooms are very intricate.
Yeah.
So, like, how did you do that? Had to take more than 20
Oh yeah,
minutes.
so I throw the part first. So none of this design is on
Okay.
that at first. So I have my wheel, I throw just this part, I throw the lid, the cup, these were hand built, and then I threw the little diffuser thing on the inside. So that took about 20 minutes to throw all of those, but not including the
Got
time
it.
it took to learn how to do that. So that took like 4 years how to learn how to throw it that fast. So that's why I
That'll
still
pay
did
off in
it.
the long run.
Right? Yeah, I was like, I can't really tell how long that took, but so 20 minutes for that, and then the carving probably took at least probably 2.5 hours for everything for that, and then assembling it probably took about an hour. So maybe like 4 hours total, something
That's
like
pretty
that.
good. That would take me about 17 years to figure out, and it would break as soon as I picked it up.
Exactly. That's kind of what I felt like too. I was like, "Ooh," touching it barely, but it was
What's your most proud ceramic? Like, do you have one that you're like, ooh,
mm,
I'll never be able to replicate that one, but you will. But you know, like it's just
yeah,
sometimes it's just
yeah,
random.
for
Like
sure.
some things just all come together perfectly.
Yeah,
Like, do you have one of those where you're just like
I was
have the
just like,
most?
yes. A
Yeah.
yes moment. I think specifically with this line of work, I really like this little stupid jar. Like I just would I think it's because of the way the lid fits. Like it doesn't move at all, which is like a coveted thing by ceramic artists. So like the fact that I like can't really move it back and forth and it just fits right in there, I'm like, yes, that's cool. That's a tiny little thing that I find enjoyment. The specific like big piece that I've done,
Doesn't even have to be
I
big.
guess that's true. Yeah, something I
Just
just
like
really like. I really like the peppers a lot. That's a design that I've always really been fond of. Um, I did do not with this line of work, but I did my thesis. I did two full figure sculptures of these ladies hanging on the wall, and one was getting eaten by this giant octopus, and it was like 6 feet. It was huge. It was so much fun. So I've got a collector in Michigan with that up on his wall now. So he gets to look at that every day. But yeah, so that piece took a semester's worth of work, and that I'm very proud of. But I will probably never do that again. That was a lot of work. Um,
can someone just come into your place of business and like almost like a storefront? Like, do you have a thing, a sign that says like, come in and like look around?
yeah, I do not have that yet, but that is the next step. So I'm
Got
hoping,
it.
yeah, so I'm hoping to progress into a storefront gallery class setting of a space, and I've got a couple friends that we're trying to push that in the next year and a half. And one of my friends is art therapy, getting her MFA in art therapy, and so she's going to be teaching some art therapy classes, and then my other friend and I are going to be teaching more of like the intro classes and doing the gallery storefront kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of where I'm seeing myself in the next year or two. But who knows? I don't know. But
Are the holidays a killer for you? Like,
yeah, yeah,
you have holiday specific designs too, or is it just you do your design and they just happen to fit with the holidays because people buy these stuff around the
pretty
holidays?
much. Yeah, I haven't done anything specifically holiday themed because I just that just seems a little kitschy to me for the stuff that I do. I just don't think I could do it. But I'm a big fan of Halloween, and so this Halloween, I did a bunch of new designs with like the rats and the frogs and different like things like that. So that was very enjoyable. But you wouldn't specifically see that as like a Halloween theme. So I'm selling those. I sold a bunch of those for Christmas too. So but yeah, I don't think I really would want to do any like Santa Claus pieces or anything like that. But I'm sure people would like it. I wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, people might just buy your stuff around the holidays anyway because it's like something that you may
Mhm.
give someone. It's like a unique thing, and so even if it doesn't have a Santa Claus on it.
True. That's usually what happens. Yeah, Christmas holidays are huge for any small business or pottery
Yeah.
business, because it's like, yeah, it's a great gift. It's a great thing to give people and they love it. Who doesn't love
So
love?
are you not working 12 hours a day anymore?
Not as much. I still, some days will be 12, some days will be 8, some days will be 5. It just kind of depends on what day it is. But yeah, right now I'm like on the tail end of all of the holiday madness. And so I've just sent out, I've got one more box to ship out for pieces that were bought yesterday. So I can breathe after this weekend. I'm very excited for that.
If you're running a business too, It probably involves a lot of discipline, a lot of focus, a lot of attention. How do you like? How do you separate that from? You need creativity too.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you do that? Like, what do you have any like systems or
Yeah.
routines or habits that you have to like one stay disciplined, two also have an environment where you can stay creative?
Yeah. I think that the biggest game changer for me was this space. Like just having a space to like physically I'm a big like I've got my boards back there. Like I write everything down very physically. I'm not good with technology, so I physically have notebooks that I write things down in, just to keep track of everything, like different. So I've got a page for each store that I'm in. So I write down my inventory, what's been selling. I'll screenshot emails from people and keep that in a very specific category so I can keep track of that inventory. But I think, yeah, I'm a big organizer, so I just have to have like, folders or sections for each thing that I'm doing. And most of the time I can keep my classes, I don't have to keep as much track of because those are through other organizations. But like with each store that I'm selling stuff in, I have to keep track of those. And I don't really know about. I think I have a Wix website, and so they are pretty good about separating things for me on there. So I can just, taxes are fun, but it makes it a little easier with that. They can kind of set that up for me. But yeah, it's just kind of a learn as you go thing. I think that I still am figuring out different systems that work, and I just have to start it. Just literally start doing something, and then that system comes into place. So it's like right now I'm still writing down stuff in a notebook and just like keeping track of it
No.
that way because it's the way my brain works. But
What systems have like for anyone starting a small business? You do ceramics. Someone could do anything. A small accounting firm. Who knows?
yeah,
But the basics are like you want a
yeah,
website. You want to learn how to know the finance side and the tax side of what you're doing to maybe communicate and do sales with customers. Were there like things in the beginning where you started and then over time you learned like, oh, obviously the Wix website was better because I tried doing this and it
right,
was horrible. On taxes, I tried to do it, it wasn't worth my time. So I just went with this thing that
yeah.
helped me. Like, are there like key things that you
Mhm.
would tell someone starting a small business that like, hey, I tried this, it was a nightmare, and I went this way because, it was much easier.
Yeah,
For anyone starting a small business, are there things like that? Even for me, maybe I can learn.
yeah. I mean, I think I'm still learning that too. I have definitely I highly recommend just getting a tax guy. I've got a tax guy and I can just literally spew my information at him and he'd be like, "No, you need to put it this way." And so he can just tell me how to physically like do it. It's worth all the money cuz I'm terrible with math. So I highly recommend just getting somebody to help you with that. Or just get somebody trusted that can help you sort through those things. I also actually have an app that I use to track my expenses. It's called Foreceipt, for like a receipt, but for receipt. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Four seat.
Yeah, and so it like keeps track. I don't know if you can actually. I think it's called for receipt. That's what it's called. But this is my finance section. So that one in the middle, for receipt.
Oh, got it. With the little
Yeah.
like leaves.
So I
Leaves.
love that. I mean, it's kind of weird and like has different settings or whatever, but it can you can take a
It's like
picture.
a bookkeeper
Yeah.
almost.
I guess that yeah. I haven't
Bookkeeping.
looked up any other really bookkeeping sites or anything, but this one's free and I can just take a picture of my receipt, store it in my inventory, just put a note what it's from and put different categories of like this was shipping, this was, food from a gallery, this was advertising. So I can separate those sections out and keep that record for tax season. And I don't have to have the physical copy of the receipt anymore because I have a picture of it. So I really like using that to keep track of my expenses, and I don't have to have any physical copies of that. I probably should have those too, but I don't. So technology. But yeah, so I use that a lot. And then I have a budgeting app too. Dave Ramsey, he's a
I love Dave
yeah,
Ramsey.
everybody loves Dave Ramsey. So he's got an app for budgeting. I think it's Every Dollar, I think is what it's called. So I use that to just kind of track what I'm spending things on, that kind of stuff. So I think that's a huge thing for a small business starting out, is you need to know where money's coming in, where money's coming out, and break even. Like that's, like at the beginning, that's kind of all you're trying to do. And then you can
Yeah.
tell, like, okay, maybe I need to make, an extra $20 or something because I need to spend it on this. And that way you can be like, okay, well, maybe I'll just make a small little bowl and just sell it on Instagram story for $20. Somebody's going to buy it, So that just kind of helps keep track of, like, if I need to do something extra, that'll set me up for success where I don't have to worry about it later. But
Can you do that a lot? Can you just like go on Instagram stories or reels and just
oh,
like
yeah.
do, you know, what interesting, like you show from the beginning, like a video of like beginning to end in fast motion, like 15 seconds, and
Mhm.
then like at the end say whatever
Well,
you
yes.
price it. Like, have you ever tried
I
that?
have not,
Do you think that would
actually. I
work?
should try that on something. Maybe I'm gonna do that soon. Yeah, I do giveaways and different things, and I have done Instagram sales, like through stories and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think I've done it.
But I think you are doing it the right way because you probably don't want to turn your audience off too much from like
Right,
overselling.
right.
Like you want to build
Yeah,
content that they enjoy and then they come back and back and back and then you build a following and
yeah.
then you decide how you want to
Mm,
handle that.
right.
It seems like you know what you're doing because you have a lot of people
Yeah.
who a lot more people than me who are following you.
I honestly am still figuring it out for sure, but it's everybody. I think it's just been a big fad lately with the wheel throwing on Reels and TikTok and all that kind of stuff. I just made a TikTok. I said I never would, but I just made one.
Yeah, everyone that's what the eyeballs
I
are.
know. It's like, but at the same time, I have been looking um, at like who sees TikToks and what I'm using it for. And it's like, honestly, I don't think a lot of the younger generation is going to want to buy a $75 mug. So on Instagram, people will do that. That's like where people go to see that stuff. But so I'm like, I don't really know if TikTok's for me. I don't really think it's drawn much of a attraction in the way that I want people to like look at my website to buy stuff. Like that's the only reason that I've got the Instagram. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
TikTok is like it's I don't know it influenced other platforms, but it's like shortening everyone's attention spans.
yeah.
It's like you have like 2 seconds.
Right?
Like how are you supposed to build a community or
Yeah, exactly.
a populace of people who like
Yeah,
can thoroughly think about something if all they're getting blasted with is 6 second
yep,
videos?
yep. That's a big thing. Why I'm like, I don't think it's for me because it just feels there's no community behind it, is what it feels like. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm.
When will your first hire come on to like help you like build stuff?
Mm, that's a
2 years? Year?
so if this see, I don't really picture things by myself. But I've never thought about specifically for me having somebody come on and help me with things like in my own stuff. I've always pictured having a studio space where we have classes, we have the gallery, we have, this and that, and then we hire people on to teach, or we hire on people to be the studio tech or those different things. I guess I
Obviously, I don't know how the studio
yeah,
works, so
yeah, there's a lot of people behind that, but for me specifically, I just don't think my work is fast enough or is, I just don't think it's production, like, it's not production pottery where it's quick. So I think that's where my niche is, where it's like I do very, like, slow things, so I can only do, like, a sale a month. It's only gonna have, like, 20 or 30 pieces in it, so that's why my prices are higher because I can't, nobody else can help me with that because it's
but what if you find a top selling ceramic that people are like, I need this?
yeah,
And then you're like, okay, this is like a killer in sales.
yeah.
What if I just train this person exactly on how to do this, repeat it, and I'll keep making my unique thing and then have this person? It may not be the best quality as you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's someone in
Yeah.
college learning to do what you're doing.
And
That
I've talked to a few people about that because you can have, like, my friends work at, it's called Gravesco Pottery in Indianapolis, and it's a production pottery company. And there's people that trim, there's people that throw, there's people that glaze. And they all have a very it's like a distinct style. Like, she wants them exactly the same every single time, and they train and learn how to do it exactly the same way every single time, and it's insane. Like, I don't know how they do that. They can throw like 200 pieces a day, and it's crazy.
Really?
Yeah, like I would be crippled if I did that. But yeah, so there is totally a market for that wholesale, that kind of thing. But I don't know if my heart is in that production side of things. I think that I'm a little slower paced, and I think that, yeah, I'm money motivated in the aspect of like, um, making that a space, a community space where you can come in and work, and that's how I, would make money off classes and that kind of stuff. But um, yeah, I think I'm still trying to figure that out, what my goal is for this, because I enjoy making so much. I think it would put a little stress on the making process if I brought, I don't know, that's a good question. If I brought somebody else, that would alleviate a lot of stress. If they like trim for me or throw the pieces and I could just carve it, that would be kind of cool. That would be yeah.
Well, whatever you do, it's going to be great because you're passionate about it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. What's the next piece you're working on?
Oh, I've got a couple commission pieces. Somebody wanted some blue thistles, and I'm actually doing. I don't know if my brother's gonna kill me for this, but I can't have him watch this before Christmas because I'm doing him a Christmas present, and so him and a couple of his business partners have been making a animated series called Space Pirates, and so I'm making him a mug with all of his characters on it. So these are some of the characters from their animated series.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make him a mug with all those guys on it. He has no idea, so that's a lot of fun. So I think I'm definitely on the downward slope of the holiday sales, and so I'm taking a deep breath, and then as soon as January hits, I'm just gonna jump back in. I've already got a order from a bakehouse that wants a bunch of mugs, so I'll sell them those, and then I've got some wedding presents that people want.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think in January we're gonna hit the ground running with, it's called Mobile Makers is the trip that we're taking. So we've got our van, the dog, both of us, and we're hitting the road for a couple months at the beginning of next year. So we're gonna do a lot of promotions with. I think we're gonna do some T-shirts of like designs, like the mushrooms and rats and stuff. We're gonna put it like that on T-shirts to sell, and try and get some donations through that so we can pay for gas. And
the rats will be funny. I feel like the rats will it'll be a nice promotion because people will be like, "Wait, what?" And then you need that though.
Yeah,
you need the
attention draw. Like, ooh, it's a little gross, but okay, I dig it. So yeah.
Is this your first podcast you're on?
Yeah, it's my first one.
Do you think that you doing teaching and like one big thing about I always talk about is not just with maybe your own business, but not specific to what you're doing, like ceramics, but communicating effectively is important. And like, do you think that the teaching side of what you do has made you a better communicator? Because you have never done a podcast. You're coming on here and you just seem like so natural and well-spoken. And so I think that helps in all aspects of life. You have to be able to talk to customers. Maybe if you want to get your product in a store, you have to be well-spoken and speak to them. Communicating effectively is so important in every aspect. Where did you develop your way to communicate? Or is it natural? Teaching help?
Teaching 100%. You nailed it. Yeah. I think that I started teaching, honestly, I started teaching back in high school. I taught a lot of Sunday school classes and a lot of kids stuff.
What did you teach in high school?
I did a lot of like summer camp stuff. And so I was kind of like the, camp counselor type of thing, but that's not super formal. But once I started in college, that's when I started teaching at different art centers. So I worked at a place, it's in Anderson, Indiana, no relation. But I was one of their camp director things for afternoon classes, and that was a lot of fun. It was very stressful. That was like my first actual like, this is how you do this with kids, and they don't do it. They don't want to do any of it. And so I was like, how in the world do I get kids to listen to me? And I think there was one instance where it was like, I don't know, there's a kid that did something. He like smacked another kid or something, and that whatever. I just was like, oh, this is where my voice is at. I just like went all mom on him. I was like, you do not smack other people. And I was like, okay, that's my teaching voice. And so yeah, once I got that, it just kind of spiraled from there. And then I got other teaching jobs at the art center that I worked at for a while. And that residency in Ohio, I taught kids there too. So that was definitely a big confidence boost and like just a way to like, I hate the phrase like fake it till you make it, but then that's not the right like phrase I want to use because you don't fake
I understand what you're saying. If
it.
I had to explain it,
Yeah.
like you're not faking it, but you're almost like putting out there a future
Mm-hmm.
feeling of like it right now.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the same way with the
Yeah.
podcast. It's like if I act
Yeah.
like this is a horrible podcast, like no one listens to it, then who's going to listen to it? If
Exactly.
I act
Yeah.
like it's a amazing podcast
Yeah.
where people come on, like
Exactly.
it's just different. It's not faking
Yeah.
it. It's just
Bring.
envisioning who you want to
Yeah.
be, and then eventually that will come into fruition. But
Exactly.
if it's so interesting because it's like I totally agree. If someone
Mhm.
were to talk to me about this, it's like, is it fake it till you make it? It's not. You're
Yeah.
not faking,
Yeah.
but you are a little
Or
bit.
you
But who knows?
it's like you're
It's
not
like,
because you will be that way, but it's like you just need to exert the confidence that you
yeah,
want to have. Like I want to be right now. I'm acting like the person I want to be in 2 years. So it's like I'm always striving to be that person that I want to be, but it's not. It's not faking it because I'm definitely gonna be that person. But it's like, yeah, I don't know, starting a little early, I
yeah.
guess. Yeah. But yeah, teaching definitely, and I think honestly, teaching adults you think would be a little bit more scary because you feel like they would know a little bit more and just be a little more intimidating. I found that totally the opposite. I had so many kids razz on me for stuff. They're like, "That looks horrible." I was like,
How old? How old are they?
I the
Like 10?
youngest I taught was 5 years old, which was
Yeah, they have no
no,
filter.
they don't. They don't have any filter. It was a
Like if
lot.
you do something like embarrassing, they'll probably call you out
Oh
on
yeah,
it or laugh at you, like point at you.
yeah, and they don't stop. They just like keep. They'll bring it back up the next time you come in. Like, remember that? Yes, I do. Thank you. Yeah, they're a lot of fun, but man, I did summer camp for a summer in college, and uh, I think I taught for 8 hours a day straight. Like I had maybe a 30-minute break, but you're constantly on with kids all the time, and whew, that was you were dead after that. They do not pay you enough to do that. Like no one gets paid enough to do that with kids. Like teachers are so underappreciated. Like kids specifically, but yeah, it was a lot. So when I taught adults, it's like, dang, I can just sit back and just let you guys kind of do. Like I still teach, obviously, but you're in control of your emotions and you can like do your own thing. That's crazy. But I did notice that, and I don't know, adults are a lot more critical on themselves too. Like I had a younger girl, throw something on the wheel. She was like 7, and she threw like a volcano, just like a gross little like turd. And she stopped, she stepped back, she was like, "This is perfect. This is like what I made today, and this is amazing." I was like, "You go, girl." Yes. I had some adult lady, she threw something, it was beautiful. She's like, "Oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong." I was like, man, if this little girl could say like this volcano turd is perfect, like yours is fine. You're good. But that's
Are you critical about yourself when you're making things? It might be just like an adult thing. I feel like
yeah,
we're really critical on ourselves.
absolutely. I
I don't know if it's a fake thing. Like sometimes you actually are proud of it,
yeah,
but it's like
it's like, oh no, I'm not.
for some reason you're just critical about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that I started out that way, and I think I've grown a lot as a person to like just accept things and like be bold and boast, not boastful, but like proud in moments you should be, and just accepting that and complimenting yourself. I've really like this year I've really tried to emphasize like because I wouldn't be where I am or doing anything on Instagram if I was like, oh, I don't want to, boast, or I don't, and it's not boasting, it's just like, oh, I just want to be as confident as possible. Like I'm not trying to be like I'm the best at everything. I just want to be extremely confident, and that will that people are attracted to that. And so yeah, I forget where I was going with that, but I think
Well, I talked about in my another podcast a practical perfectionist, where even if as an artist, I would assume you really pay attention, close
yeah.
attention to detail,
Hmm.
but at a certain point, it's diminishing returns. Like if you put 3 hours into one of your things,
Hmm.
sure, it comes out okay.
Yeah.
If you put 6 hours or 5 hours, I'm sure that thing looks beautiful.
Yeah.
24 hours, how much better could it, like, there's at a
Yeah.
certain point, it's just like, is it really improving that
Yeah.
much? And like, is it practical for me to even put all this time and energy into it?
Exactly.
And then if you think only perfect, like, can I get it more and more and more and more perfect?
Mhm.
You'll never get
Yeah.
there. So like, does that mean that now you're afraid to even do it because you'll know you never get there? Do you
Yeah.
stop taking that first step?
Yeah.
A lot of things with
Yeah.
perfectionists where I think you need a balance. You need to be you need to have attention to detail. You
Absolutely.
need to want to make a really good product or
Yeah.
service, but then you need to know when enough is
Yeah.
enough and when you've done what you could. And even if it comes out horrible, you
Mhm.
learn from it. But
Mhm.
if you're a complete perfectionist, which I would assume a lot of artists might be really in that category
Yeah.
of perfectionists,
Yeah.
just knowing like how
Yeah.
the attention to detail you need to be, like the mushrooms I just looked
Yeah.
at, that's crazy.
Yeah. They're definitely a lot of work. But like commenting on that, like I don't know, I think I've really like whenever I'm throwing something, I think it's just kind of second nature now. So if I start on something and I feel like it's off a little bit, I'll just scrap it right then before I even like allow. I'll know at that point. It's like, okay, that's gonna happen. Let's just start over. But like at that stage, it's easy. It's just dirt still at that point. I can re-wedge that and throw it again on the wheel, so it's not wasting a lot of my time. But I think like I did it last night when I was teaching. I was painting something on the bottom of a mug and I let the line go outside of a line. You could tell that it looked like a little bit of a mistake. And I was like, somebody gets that. Like, I don't do that every time. So, like, that's a little bit more special than if I had it perfect. So that's why I tell students all the time, I'm like, man, you didn't get that from Target. Like, that's fine. Like, that's why you're here. You want it to look a little unique. Like, I don't know. I think that's kind of where I went. I think as a professional artist, it's like you start learning, you try and master the perfect Target mug, and then you get past the point where it's like, that's boring. Nobody, like, you can go get that at Target. That's fine. I'm going to make something that's way cooler, and it's going to have a little something to it. So I think that I'm embracing anything that I call a flaw, or if anybody else calls a flaw. It's like, well, not everybody gets that. That's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, maybe the flaw is
Exactly. Yeah.
what makes you unique.
Exactly. It's cool. I was listening to one of my favorite singers, Lauren Daigle. She said something like, I don't know, during a concert, she had like a squeak in her voice, and afterwards somebody like was making fun of her, and she was like, "Well, that's pretty cool that you get to hear that, because not a lot of people do." I was like, "That's a great point. Like, not everybody gets a flaw. Like, that's pretty cool." I don't know. It's a good way to look at it. Different perspectives on things. So I live a lot happier life if I look at the bright side of things. So.
Yes, you do. Can't be pessimist. Okay. Yeah. All right. We're coming up on the hour. I really enjoyed this conversation. We could go longer, but I'll let you go after we round out the hour. I appreciate you coming on here. I think I follow you on Instagram. If I don't, I will. So I look forward to seeing some more reels and more ceramic stuff coming out.
All the reels.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Keep doing a good job. Keep inspiring. Keep kicking butt. And maybe when you're in high production mode, you come back on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to. This was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for asking me. It was nice to.
I hope you have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Bye.